This is the Claws Out podcast, West Tigers TV, live from the mic'd up studio in Parramatta. The boys are in the building. We got Rob, Steve, and Gary. We're second up today, so you're the Royce Hunt today. We've got to carry on the momentum from Coach and Junior coming off the bench. We've got to keep the momentum going.
What a great job they did earlier, breaking down all those tries tonight, and what a day out at Campbelltown. Wonderful ambush event hosted by Steve to start with, getting to speak to Gary Jack again, seeing all the people that, the footy. I've got to give a shout out to Jan. Jan, I promised you a shout out. She was a lovely lady sitting in front of me, two lovely ladies behind me, just a lot of people saying hello to everyone, and lovely atmosphere and just how footy should be.
The ambush function, Steve, I think it was 2:00 at the Sherwood Hotel. How'd it go?
Mate, it was a fantastic afternoon, a great, pre-game warm-up before we headed over to the stadium. We had Gary Jack, as was mentioned, and Gary Jack promoted his book there, Jumping Jack. It's available through us. You can contact us to grab a copy of this book for $39.95. But Gary Jack, he was just sensational. He was very humble, very open. He loved reminiscing about 88, 89. Told a great story about Terry Lamb and his thoughts on Terry Lamb, but you'll have to look at the pod to have a listen to that. But it was just a good event. We had a podcast. We had Rob up and Gary, and we had Matty G, and we had Kelly up from Hear Her Roar, and had a bit of a podcast and a chat with all the patrons there. It was good fun.
I saw 30 seconds of footage. A lot of Tigers jerseys out there today. Good vibe,
mate. The whole place was full of Tigers jerseys. A lot of orange out there today, which I'm sure will impress our club to see that jersey getting out and about. As Steve said, Gary Jack was simply outstanding today. We did film the interview with him today. We'll release that on West Tigers TV probably on Saturday. So keep an eye out for that later in the week and check out what he had to say, because it was a really interesting chat. I was really impressed by him today, and he did a wonderful job.
Tuesday preview show, we've been doing it live from the mic'd up studio, but this Tuesday, Gary, Daniel's going to be helping us produce it live from West Campbelltown.
Yeah, we're heading out to West Campbelltown. Still same time, 5:00 we'll go live on Tuesday, but we'll be coming to you from West Campbelltown. Thank you to Katie from West Campbelltown Group, the West Group Campbelltown, or MacArthur, who's looked after us for that. She looked after us for the ambush event today. So that's great. We'll get out there and kind of to promote those venues for next weekend as well. Where West Tigers are back out at Campbelltown next weekend. So get out there, visit the Sherwood, visit West Campbelltown. They've been great to us. Great
timing there, sandwiched in between two back-to-back games at Campbelltown. It was a real statement today, Rob. We'll get into specific plays and individual performances, but we got the hoodoo off our back. 3 wins in a row in emphatic fashion and broke a 5-game losing streak at Campbelltown.
Yeah, everyone's really been talking about the 3-game winning streak. To me, it was just winning at Campbelltown. It was just, we needed to make a statement today, show that area that, we have a great team and we want the area to get behind our team. And it was a wonderful occasion, wonderful atmosphere. Could have been a bit more vocal, Steve. I'm sure Steve will get into that a little bit later. But, it was, to me, the most important win of the season. We would have been 3-2 if we lost. We're now 4-1. Hopefully go 5-1, but it's not the end of the world if we're 4-2. But you start losing your home games, you lose the advantage you created by winning those away games, as Adel's mentioned numerous times on previous shows.
15,221, pretty good crowd for a Sunday afternoon. Not quite a sellout, but I'd be shocked if it's not a sellout next Saturday night against the Broncos.
Well, you'd certainly hope so, wouldn't you? It was all but a sellout today, and the crowd were great. As Rob said though, it's still a little bit quiet. With 10, 15 minutes to go, we're 20 up, and it was an eerie quiet around. Maybe it's because...
Is that sometimes just like the logistics of the ground? Like not every ground can be constructed like Adel. I'm sure the fans are still cheering. And
I reckon it's the fact that we're not often 20 points ahead in the game, and I think everyone's sitting there
no one knew what to do.
What do we do, right? Like we're not in
I just think they're also more well-behaved, and I'm not...
Wouldn't be hard to
I am going to be critical, but it's honestly it's with love and it's for the right reasons. We had nothing to watch before the game, and I understand the reasoning of letting the players who didn't play first grade today play cup afterwards, but we need a game early. We need to warm up. We need to get our vocals ready and start ready to scream, because 15 minutes before it started, I texted you blokes. I said, I'm not feeling it. Like the atmosphere wasn't there. And I think if you've got a game of any sort there where you can cheer for a West Tigers team or a West Magpies or wherever it may be, It just needs to be done.
Jersey Flag played at Lidcombe Oval by themselves yesterday, so probably would have been a perfect opportunity to take that game there.
Why would that be the case? Is that would be a club arrangement? Because I know we're all dinosaurs here, but back in the day, in the late 90s, you used to be able to watch President's Cup, then reserve grade, then first grade, and you could see the progression of your younger players and cheer for them.
Exactly.
It's one of my favourite things of following rugby league is watching young players come through, and it's so difficult to do now because the games aren't back-to-back and at the same ground anymore.
It was only a couple of weeks ago that reserve grade were playing at Lidcombe about an hour before.
Yeah, the game crossed over.
The Cowboys game.
Yeah, Cowboys game.
Yeah,
right?
our first game.
But do you know an interesting stat, right? Do you know, I don't know what year it was, but I was standing in the line to get a hamburger before the game, and this bloke turned to me and said, "Do you know when the last time we won 3 in a row was?" And I couldn't remember the year. He said
2018.
2018, and it was rounds 4, 5, and 6.
There you go.
Same as you.
I remember round 6 was, I think, against Manly at Brookvale, and Benji Marshall actually had a blinder that day under the coaching of Ivan Cleary. But Rob, before I get your Like a Tiger moment, I will mention to our viewers and listeners out there, the comments are coming on the screen, so I'm going to glance over there. I'll try and read out a few comments, or if you've got any question for the boys in the studio, I'll read them out. But we thank you for tuning in again. What is your Like a Tiger moment?
My Like a Tiger moment was right near the end of the game. It was totally wrapped up. We're never going to lose the game. The Knights make a break down their left-hand side try line, and Royce Hunt's effort in chasing and how hard he ran at it, and even just watching his reaction at full time. He was like literally the only bloke that put his arms up in the air. There were other moments. I know Gary's going to mention one as well, but that for me, it's just shown where Royce Hunt has come from almost this time last year, maybe a few weeks further advanced to where he is now. He's an integral part of our team, and there really was hardly a bad performance today for us.
Yeah, well, mine is not a specific moment, but mine is just our defence. And, the way I describe it is we are just attacking other teams with our defence. We are hitting so hard. We are hitting, our line speed is just so quick. We're hitting in numbers, and it's right across the defensive line, but I want to give special mention to our middle. Our defence in the middle is just rock solid. And it's not just rock solid. We are rattling teams, right? We rattled Parra last week, and we rattled Newcastle like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, we put Newcastle off their game so quickly today with that defence, that line speed to get up on them. It's also when there's a guy standing in a tackle, our players find a exposed rib or whatever it is they can, and they're jamming in. They're not just going in to assist on pulling a guy down in the tackle. They're going in to hurt and punish those guys standing in tackles. And it's the type of defence that I haven't seen from our club before. It's a type of defence that is going to put a lot of sides off. It's going to be hard to maintain that level of intensity for the whole season. But that was a huge defensive effort today. And Steve, I think a big part of that win came through that aggression in defence.
Absolutely. And the other thing that's awesome about what we're seeing, and I know we harp on it about it a little bit, but if you go back to that coaches' night that we were lucky enough to attend, and they said they wanted our line speed to be quick. They wanted us to attack with our defence. They wanted us to hurt in defence, and they wanted to win the yardage game every set. So always, when we're kicking, we're kicking over the 50. When they're kicking well before the 50. And we're seeing it, guys. We're actually seeing it.
And it's guys like Alex Twole and Api Coruscant really leading that defensive line speed in the middle. I can't talk about it enough. It was a beautiful attacking game today, but we won that defensively today.
It doesn't sound exciting, guys, like the word or the term I'm about to use. It was tradesman-like. We just went out there, did our job. Wasn't special. It was just, it's almost now as a Tigers fan, we're getting sport because this is what I'm expecting. This is what I expect every week, that we're going to go out and do our job, and it's just whether we're going to be the better team or not. But we will go out and give our all every week, and we're getting rewarded for being one of the fittest teams in the club. And now we're getting a lot of confidence off the back of that.
But I reckon that's a really big point, what you just said, tradesman-like, right? Because one of the things that has always concerned me is when we do get on a bit of a run, we seem to ride this incredible wave of emotion, right? And we're all running to the crowd and putting claws out and onto about players and all this sort of stuff. Whereas a Melbourne Storm, previously, and a Penrith, they score a try, they acknowledge it and go back to halfway and do it again.
A bit like that today, wasn't
And
it?
that's what we're starting to be like you can't sustain this incredibly effervescent, desperate game. And that's how it was described us in years gone by, but not this year.
But they're also doing that game to game, Steve. Like the language in all the press conferences this week was, we're flush that game.
Yep.
Where we celebrate it, we flush it, we move on to the next one. And our players are saying that to a man. Even Taruva, who is a very excitable sort of guy, when they interviewed him through the week at one of the presses, he started to go on about how exciting it was and how well they were doing, and then he pulled back and he goes, "But we're focusing on next week now."
He did do that. And you know what, Benji's already put the lid on it for this week, and I'm sure we'll get to it later, but in his press conference, he's already come out and said, "No, we're not focusing on the win, we're focused on the last 20.
Yeah, we should be extremely happy with today, but let's just keep a lid on it. We played Newcastle without their three most expensive players.
And they were poor.
We were missing players too, no doubt, and like our marquee player as well. But let's just be real. I think it's happening, guys, but, it's just one game at a time.
We've got a squad this year, though, Rob. Like a Tiger moment was Patrick Herbert. Like, this is a guy playing park football in the Illawarra last year, and ordinarily West Tigers teams of the past, you go past player 19, 20, 21, and you're going, oh, here we go. No offence, you've got guys like Brent Naden coming in, or guys you might think are not up to the job, but whoever's come in this year hasn't let us down.
Well, we'll get to good, bad and ugly, but you've almost stolen my good there. But, yeah, I think you're wrong there, mate. It wasn't Patrick Herbert, it was Justin Hodges. That was incredible, mate.
Except for the Tom Brady gridiron passes. I mean, they were
Yeah,
good.
two of
But
them,
that's a bit Hodges-like,
like
throwing the ball around the way. He was magnificent today. It's absolutely brilliant to think that the backup for a backup, we're upset that Tavana's out. Tavana's done a great job, and Tavana's a backup, for someone else. We're missing Lauligi. He's a backup for someone else. Like, the depth in this squad and, the next man up mentality, as Rob Jr. mentioned on the previous show, it's outstanding. And, we talk it a lot, but you don't often deliver it. And now that we are so fit and we've done the hard work in the preseason, look, we all say we're getting lucky. We got lucky. We played these guys without their best three. We're going to play Brisbane without a few. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Okay, that's a really good motto in life.
And you're talking about Herbert. He's probably, you have a look at who we're picked in the centres. He's our fifth choice. There's Toa, there's Taylor May, we've had Macassini, and we've had Taruva all playing in the centres in front of him. He's come in as our fifth choice to play in the centres today and was simply outstanding. And a huge congratulations to him, because he's come
100%.
back from that terrible injury he had. He spent so long on the sidelines, and it's a really great reward to come back and perform the way he did today.
So we watched him last week playing reserve grade, and his attacking game was really strong.
Excellent.
But his defensive game was quite weak, really. He
Correct.
missed a number of
Not
tackles
today.
in that game. And this is the thing, right? So he stepped up into first grade, and he's risen to the occasion, right? He's become a first grade footballer on both sides of the football, which is something we've never seen. Well, not for a long time.
But it's also, he's coming into a system that is working quite well defensively.
100%. That's it.
And that the Magpies' defensive systems last week were quite poor in that reserve grade side. So I think it's a little bit easier sometimes to come in and defend in a system that's set up and working well, which our defence seems to be at the moment.
Where can this year end up, Rob? And you can't give me the boring cliche answer, we got the Broncos next week, because Coach did that once. He's allowed to do it because he's your coach. But we're a fan. We don't have to be Benji Marshall. Should I be changing my expectations? Can this side make the top four? Don't worry about the top
We're not
eight.
coming 17th. So you do.
Eddie, you should always be changing your expectations, but sorry, Rob.
No, you're right. We can make the top four. It's definitely achievable. But I said it every year, even when we've come 17th and 13th. We can do whatever we seek out to do and what the players believe. And as much as I'm sure the players would love us fans being happy and discussing it and talking us up and whatever, they do not give a flying you-know-what about what anyone is saying, what the media is saying, what the fans are saying. All they care about is what they think amongst themselves within that group, and that's all that matters. And, yeah, 100% the top four is achievable, but like I said, we played a team without their best three players today, and Rob Jr. made a really good point. We don't have the bye till round 13 or round 14, so there's another month and a half to 2 months of tough games, so we still have to back it up. We might have copped an injury to Samuel Afenu. I don't know what was wrong with Sione. He never came back. He never came on after half time. Macassini was hobbling the last 12 minutes. So, you've got to allow for injuries. But we're talking about guys that were in our team that are third and fourth stringers, not playing 6 out of 10, Gary. I would have been happy if Herbert just had an average game, made his tackles, held the ball. That was a 9 out of 10 performance from Herbert. So this is what we're getting that from Jock. We're getting that. Alex Twal they're talking about rep honours, and we would have laughed at that last year. Would have been a running joke. He's playing outstandingly well.
I was laughing about Alex Twal re-signing in the off-season 6 weeks ago. He is our forward leader. His performance today was outstanding, and it had everything. He's running the ball hard. His footwork. He's passing before the line. There was one stage where he threw 2 passes, 2 plays in a row before the line.
Where did we see it? Because you and I were sitting together, and I don't know if it was the end of last year or beginning of this year. We were sitting together and we were saying Alex Toll is leading the line speed in defence, right?
Yeah, I think it was a game late last year.
Right? And it's been since then. It's just I don't know what's come over him, but he's playing brilliant, absolutely brilliantly.
I can only put it, and I'm putting this down to a lot of players who have shown a lot of improvement. I can only talk about fitness.
Yep.
He played 77 minutes today. He went off for 3 minutes, and Sam got injured, and we needed to put someone back on. So we just threw 12 straight back out there.
That was almost Benny Hill show comical. He's got off the field about on the quarter line, as you're watching on TV on the left, but he's walked for 2.5 minutes to get to the chair. He's literally sat on the chair and then stood up straight again. He's back on the field.
I'm going to say it now. Alex Toll, throughout your career, I've given you a little bit of a hard time as being a little bit of a slow player. Mate, outstanding football. I can't be happier with the level of football he is playing.
So can we just go a little further than that, right? You talk about the fitness levels, which I think everyone would agree with. Their strength conditioning's got to be up there too, because we are pushing through the line like we have never pushed through the line. That's fitness, because when you're not as fatigued, obviously you can be stronger. But our strength, we've never pushed through the line like we are. We've never wrestled and got that. Well, I suppose second phase was there last year, but we've never dominated the ruck like we are this year.
Let's be real. Every team, every club gets fitter and stronger every year. The difference is we're fitter and stronger than nearly all the other clubs out there. Penrith might have something to say about that, but I would actually challenge that we might be just as fit as them. So, yeah, well, you're going to get fitter every year, but who cares? If you're the 17th fittest team, you're going to come 17th. We're like one of the fittest teams out there now, and we're backing it up with our performances. We're getting, like I said, tradesmen I don't know what you want to call it, professional, ruthless.
Professional.
We just went out there, did a job, and we called it Tuesday. Newcastle play like us. We're just going to be better at what we do compared to how they do it.
And it wasn't even close.
Yeah, it was over after 20 minutes.
And you're talking about that fitness and the style of football we're playing. It is a high-intensity style of football. It's a fast line speed style of football. To do that for 80 minutes, you need to be incredibly fit.
But how many times have we looked at the West Tigers and after the game said, what was their game plan? Where were they attacking? What were they trying to achieve today, right? And none of us knew. You could just see today, they just pushed down the middle, right? They condensed Newcastle's defence by running hard down the middle and then spread it and caught them out, 6, 7, 8 times?
Yeah, their left edge, Newcastle, was absolutely atrocious.
They hooked their centre.
But that was because of the work done in the middle.
Correct.
Coach's preview on Tuesday, it was like he had a crystal ball. He said we'll win by 20 if we hold the ball. He said Greg Marzu will be targeted and Appy would have a field day.
And exactly. Well, that's why he's the man.
Exactly. Steve, that first half, we touched on it, but, 5 tries, but the forward pack, you mentioned Alex Twal, or Gary did, but Pole and May both had over 90 metres at halftime. We really just bullied Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the word. We did. And look, don't forget Sione as well. All our tight forwards. We've been waxing lyrical about Kai Pearce, Paul and Samuela, as we should, right? And today they still play good games, but they weren't as dominant as they were in previous games. And today our middle did it. Like Appy was just off the charts good, right? But he was getting space. Right? Remember we said this in the preview that their markers are lazy, right? And Appy just thrived on that today and bringing those forwards onto the ball. And Terrell May's second half, as I checked those stats at half time, and he had 80 metres at half time, and then was 200 odd.
224 metres he ran for today.
And the other thing is we're not making the errors. Like Pole Pole would push out a good run, but then he'd knock the ball on, right?
He did do that
He
today.
did one today
He
in the
did
ninth
one,
minute.
yeah. But it wasn't, it's gone from our game.
But it's not only that. We aren't making as many errors, but we're also defending them when we make them.
True.
So that effort in defence, and I'm going to wash that last 20 minutes in this part of the conversation, but our ability to defend an error because our defensive systems and our first contact, our line speed, our aggression in defence has improved so much, we're able to defend errors. And it's funny, we were talking about a game where we scored 42 points today. Most impressive part for me is that defence in that first 60 minutes.
Jock Madden really went at, I can't remember the Parramatta, with Josh Adokar last week with a high ball. And we got Liam Murphy, who mentioned in the comments on YouTube. I love how we found the weakness and didn't get bored of exploiting it. DeCourcy at centre, Marzu, they just kept hammering those guys to the point where Holbrook took DeCourcy off at halftime, hooked him.
If it ain't broke, doesn't need fixing. So the fact that Taruva got 3 tries, he could have had 6 tries today if Adam wanted to keep throwing that cutout ball. It was on all the time. But we just played with a lot of purpose today. You mentioned Appy Coruscant. I don't know the stats, but it felt like there was a deliberate plan for Appy to run the ball more today. I don't know what was said at halftime, but Jock Madden came out and started doing grubber kicks instead of those little chip kick bombs. There was a purpose there. We got some repeat sets. We caused some trouble, got a 6 again. It's just a different team, guys. It's just a different team. It's a pleasure to watch. I'm not getting overly excited, but that's how Sundays are meant to be, guys.
So I have a question for you without notice.
Sure.
Like, you and I have spoken a lot about Benji Marshall over the last couple of years, and that we thought he was a good man manager. We're worried about his X's and O's. You're sitting here, you're talking about halftime adjustments. You're talking about a game plan going into this. Are you happy to concede now that he can really coach?
I conceded that a few weeks ago, but in my defence, I think it took him the whole amount of time to become that coach. But obviously the penny must have dropped at the back end of last season because this is all on the back of what we've done pre-season. Yeah. And it's not just the fitness. They've obviously worked out schemes, and it's why I keep saying I believe Adam and Jerome are our best halves combination because they've practiced like that for months pre-season, and Jock is doing outstandingly well.
It's a hard decision, though, that's coming up.
I don't know what's going to happen there. And again, it might depend on who's available, who's injured, who's not injured. But the one thing I will say, if Jock Madden stays in the team, like Jock and Jerome can only play in 2 places. Adam's the one that's got versatility, and that's where the issue becomes different because he can play anywhere in that back line and he can play as a middle forward or lock forward. There's so many things Adam can do.
You made a great comment last week. He looks like he's got a steely resolve on the sideline. Like in last year when he was on the sideline, he was getting really emotional in the games and you could tell he was frustrated. Whereas this year, even when the games are closed, he just looks laser focused, like he's got real belief in his team.
One thing I've always said about Benji, I didn't know whether he was going to be a good coach or not, right? Exact same as you guys. Was he going to be able to give the team the tactics that they needed to go? I don't think there's ever been a doubt that he could get people up and get people on side because he's just a legend of the game. But what I think he's doing, he's taking all those traits that he had as a player that made him a champion player, and he's now applying them to coaching, like that hard work, that determination, that belief in himself. All those things he exhibited as a player, that confidence, that swagger, and he's now applying that to coaching with some bloody hard work to be on top of his game.
It's a perfect blend, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw Shane Flanagan tried to copy him on the weekend by moving to sideline. Didn't work for him, though.
Not much is working for Shane Flanagan at the moment. What might work is not picking your son at halfback.
Won't talk about St George. Our attack, Steve, 5 tries in the first half. Was there a stand? I mean, we were a little bit critical last week of some of our block plays and shape. Maybe, as Coach mentioned, we came up against a defensive side that was poor at times, but we took advantage of it.
Yeah, we did. And a lot of those tries were scored from our red zone or very close to our red zone. So that ticked that box for sure. We got that space out wide because of the work we would do it in the middle. There's absolutely no two ways about that. I love the way Jock Madden was feeding the ball out to the right. I thought that like the way he was straight into the line and then getting the ball out, that was very helpful. But by and large, it was Appy. And the tight forwards getting that ball down, getting the defensive line compressed, and then we shot it out wide and the space was there.
What Jock does that no one else really in our club does very well is he engages the line before he passes. his ability to really engage those defenders and then play out the back. He's the best at it in our club. But we do it in weird ways as well. Like Terrell May, we're playing shape off Terrell May at times today, and we play a lot of shape off Appy and Appy's ability to engage the line as well. So we've got a lot of options around that. So it will be interesting moving forward.
One of those first tries in the first half, that was literally the first time all year I'd seen a perfect block shape design play. Adel mentioned in the preview, I always refer to Adel, but he was so right in this. It's fantastic. The first couple of times Jock got the ball today, he ran. He dug into the line, shaped, kept the ball, and that just kept the defence honest. So then after that, when he decided to dig into the line, the defence had to think, is he going to hold the ball this time? Is he going to run it? So again, it just gives those outside men a little bit more extra time.
And Appy was doing the opposite. He was playing short really early. You saw a couple of those balls down on the line, which then allowed him to play a little bit wider later in the game as well because the defence couldn't actually slide out as early. So there's a lot of variation around
that Terrell May try at the end of the game where it was like the biggest hole in the world, that's just because they just got sick of worrying about Appy and they all committed to Appy and there was the biggest hole ever.
That halves combination, they're 3-0 together. Adam, I'm not going to ask that question yet because Jerome's coming back next week and he'll be starting, but Adam's game today, because he had a bit of a mixed game against Parramatta, but boy, his running game was strong today.
His running game was fantastic, but for the first time, I'm going to bring up that he's got to pass the ball. Like Gary has been on that for a long time, and I've resisted to jump on the back of that because I think what he's been given to the team has been absolutely fantastic. Still think it is. Defensively, he's so much better than he's ever been before, I think. But today, he ran a lot of metres, and that's good. But there was a number of occasions he could have given a ball to players in better position than he was in.
He did set up a couple of beautiful tries. I didn't imagine
3
that.
tries.
Yeah.
He did.
Could have been more, you reckon?
Yeah, it could have been. There was definitely opportunities out wide pretty much all the game. But I that's what you get when you have Adam playing in the halves. You get his fantastic running game, which was outstanding today. But you're also going to have times where he runs when he should pass. And I think you just have to accept that. If you want his running game and you want that in your halves, then you have to accept that there's going to be times where there's an opportunity missed out wide.
Yeah, it's being overly hypercritical, but Adam played a very good game of rugby league today, but you can see his IQ, though, in some moments where he got the ball in the wrong places on the last tackle and would save it with a chip over the top, one in the first half where he put one in the corner, a little one here and there, but the frustration for what I could see about not passing the ball to Taruva is actually seeing Taruva's reaction a couple of times. You could see him throw his hands like, man, it was on again.
And that's a big thing, I think, for Taruva is he's had a little bit of a lean period scoring tries, and he scored one a couple of weeks, but I think he's only scored one so far this season. He started at our club with 9 tries in 9 games or something. So I think it's really important that the leader he is, he gets the reward when those opportunities are there, and we haven't been doing a great job of that, and there was a couple more missed ones
He was
today.
back in his natural habitat today. He's one of the best wingers in the club, and he's done an outstanding job for us in the centres because we needed him there, but it just goes to show we've been winning a lot of games with everyone out of position in Benji Marshall's most preferred position for those players.
And Taruva is one of, if not the best finisher in the game. His ability to find the line when he's given a little bit of space. I really like the way when he's got a defence sliding across and coming across that cover defence, his ability to beat them on the inside. He was fantastic today.
Shane2610 said, boys, I love the podcast. What's the lineup next week, Steve? If Jerome's back, does Jock Madden go to the bench? Do we give AD a rest? I don't think he'll be putting his hand up for a rest.
All right, well, if you're asking for my opinion, I will say I haven't got a clue. All right, I'll put my hand up straight away and say I don't know what I would do. If you're asking me what I think Benji will do, I think Adam will be 7 and I think Jerome will be 6. Now, what that does with Jock, does he go to 14 because you can't carry Latu and Jock Madden? I don't know. I would I'd say Jock would miss out, which geez, that'd be pretty rough.
Steve sort of sitting on the fence there, Gary. What would you do?
I'm glad it's not my decision to make because I think there's potentially that it can cause a little bit of drama, this decision that he's got coming up. There's some quite big personalities involved in this decision. I personally, what Jock gives us in that halfback role, his ability to create space for players outside him, I can't move him from that role at the moment. And I would be moving Adam somewhere else. I do agree. I think Benji will keep Adam there. But if I had to make the decision, Jock Madden's football over the past 3-4 weeks, whatever it is he's been playing, is a little bit too hard for me to ignore.
I'm going to risk a little bit of egg on my face, boys. I think this question is going to come about the week after.
You think they're going to rest Adam?
No, I think Jerome won't be back next week. We play on Saturday night, then we back up with a Thursday game. So for Jerome Luai to come back from a heavy injury with a 5-day turnaround, I think it'd be wise, given how the team's performing, to just let Jerome Luai just have that extra few days off. And then we can worry about it the week after.
Is Jerome going to let that decision?
He wanted to play today.
I know. How do you hold him back?
How strong was Benji? Like, Jerome's come out on TV and said, I'm playing, and Benji's in the press and said, no, you're not.
But imagine doing that again this week. That becomes a tougher decision 2 weeks in a row.
So Eddie said, I sat on the fence. You've just knocked Adam Dewey out of the team. Where are you putting him? Because you didn't answer that.
That's a really hard conversation as well, because Alex Toll, I've spoken about, I think he's the most improved player possibly in the NRL. He's been outstanding, but I do think the style of football we play, you can still get that out of him at prop. And I wouldn't mind seeing him start at prop and push Pole back to the bench. I think Pole is a better prop coming off the bench. So I wouldn't be against pushing Adam into that lock role and pushing Toll to starting prop. But then there's also a decision about what you do with your props on the bench, because none of those guys deserve to be dropped either.
Bit of controversy in today's game. Our mate Ashley Klein, Dom Young looked like, for all intents and purposes, he bounced that ball, but he decided to freeze it. And I thought he's going to give this, and he overturned it.
Yeah, it's a no try every day of the week, but in slow motion, given the rules, the ball's still stuck to his hand, so it's a try. And it's the same with our no try for Matt Cassini. They dropped off him. Matt Cassini's not tackled, so he's free. He extended his arm out while no one was on him, and it's still ruled no try. But again, I don't have the benefit of a TV replay. I was at the ground, and you can't really see the vision properly from there.
That Macassini one, I think his hand's on him. I think he's actually tackled. He's not grabbing him, but his hand is resting on him. I can see why they called that. But if you're making that call, and I do think the outcome from that was the fair outcome, that it was a play the ball. But,
it's not the right one,
but why isn't it a penalty? If he's held in place and he promotes the ball, then why wasn't that a penalty?
Double movement, yeah. You're
because right. I think by the referee's logic, if his hand's on top of him, like you're saying, which I don't know, but if he was tackled, it's a changeover before he gets a chance to double move.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Isn't that the definition of a double movement? The tackle's completed and you're promoting the ball?
Yeah, it is, but I'm just trying to see. Look, it's very hard to try and think logically when you're talking about referees, but that's the only way I can explain it.
Matt Cassini, I think, it's easy to forget. He's an 18-year-old playing NRL, so that's an unbelievable achievement. But he's been quiet. Like, even today, some of his carries, I wouldn't say he looked tentative, but on a day where a lot of our outside backs had joy, he was one guy who I thought, geez, he's a little bit quiet.
Look, I reckon, as joyful as we are at the moment, like, our team is still a work in progress, right? And that left edge of Macassini, I think he's probably down on confidence a little bit. I think he has, with him and Luke Laulila together, they have struggled defensively. Whether that's been more Luke or more Macassini, I'm not sure. But I do think that's something that's probably weighing on his mind. I remember I was sitting with Rachel and Kelly today, and I said to him, I'd love to see Macassini, go on a 30, 40 metre run, and just to rebuild that confidence, because I think he probably is lacking a little bit. But, it's good. We're winning, and he's learning, and he'll be growing. And as long as his confidence doesn't get knocked to the hell out of it, then he's going to be the better for it.
Paul Wills says AD to centre. Like, if you are going to move him, surely he has to be in our starting team, because some of our outside backs, as good as they've been, they're sort of either backup players or young guys. Like, that would be an obvious one, wouldn't it?
It is an option.
You're going to move him.
It is an option, but you also have Taylor May, who sounds like he could possibly be back next week as well. Herbert, what do you do with him after that performance today? Toa, I don't know how he's gone in reserve grade tonight.
What about Toa?
Scored the first try, according to Adel. Adel was doing two things at once. He was watching the...
So there's a lot of options around that centre spot, and options where we've been really weak for the past month at that centre position, but there's a lot of those guys starting to come back. And And AD has had some really good games at centre, but I think he's had some poor games at centre as well.
Anthony Albanese would be proud of some of these answers. He's not.
I know, very, very political. Look,
I told you what I'd do. I'd move him to lock.
the bottom line is this is only talk if Jock Madden's 7, okay? If Jock Madden's not 7, there's no discussion. But if Jock's going to stay there and you're trying to fit Adam in somewhere, you're not putting him at lock, in my opinion, because he won't pass that ball. He'll effectively be another prop. So you're not even going to get any shape. He's just going to get the ball and get tackled. So, and you're wasting his running skill if he's just ball playing before the line.
What you want in that lock role is someone who can ball play out the back, but is a threat running the ball. Adam's biggest feature is his threat running the ball. So he can run the ball. He can run the ball a lot more at lock than he can playing at 7 and even at 6, even in the centres. But when he engages a line and then passes, because he is such that threat, that's what holds your defence up from sliding. That's what gives your outside backs the space. And that's why I think he'll be really good in that role, because he is a runner of the ball. And your role as that lock primarily is as a middle forward.
Defensively, when he's out wide, he's very strong. So this would enable Taylor May to play left centre, Matt Cassini left wing. So you've got that original left edge that you wanted previously, and then put him at right centre. Outside Kai Pearce-Paul, where he's had some success already, Adam backing him up. And you got Taruva out there, and he's going to make his tackles. The only way you could kind of fit it is having him at right centre, but let him play that Tom Trebojevic role where he's got that floating role. Like Tom's done that quite a bit for Manly, even did it a bit in Origin, where he just rears his, pops his head up wherever he feels like it. Other than that, let's just not talk about it, because it's a really tough one, and maybe just things will happen naturally.
How good's our captain, Api Coruscant? Even I'm guilty of it sometimes. I reckon he plays 8 out of 10 games every week, and he's probably 7th or 8th on my rundown, because you just expect it. But if today was close to a 10 out of 10.
Mate, if he is not, barring injury, if he is not picked as State of Origin hooker this year, there's something wrong.
He won't be picked.
He won't.
It's just ridiculous. Like Laurie Daly, I know you listen to this. So
we don't listen to him. Why should he listen to
us?
us?
Mate, he's got to. He's just. See, Gary says this, right? Gary says this a lot, all right? It's a really good point. He says it's great when players make other players better, right? And our forward domination is partly to do with the effort of the forwards.
Not partly.
But the way he controls that ruck, the way he engages the markers, the way he brings those forwards onto the ball.
And gets them one-on-one with defenders.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's killing it. He's got to be. Like Reece Robson, he's good footballer, but not in his class.
That's what they want at Origin level. They just want a bloke that can tackle. They want a robot. They just want someone to pass the ball from dummy half without a brain, and they just want someone who won't miss a tackle. Now, one thing with Appy, no matter how great he plays, it's just a natural thing that a little bloke's going to miss 4 to 6 tackles a game. That's how it is.
And how's that going for him?
It's not going well at all. But I mean, let Laurie Day look at this is the thing. Some players are unbelievably great players like him, and they're the worst judges. They're the worst selectors. He's got the worst record. I don't even know how he got his job back as New South Wales coach.
Who cares about Origin? I hope they pick none of our players so we can play every week.
But I want to give a huge rap to Appy before we move on from that. I spoke about fitness earlier and how that's improved players. Appy Coruscant, in my opinion, is in the best form of his career right now. And that's come on the back of what obviously was a very grueling and tough off-season that our boys have had. I think that's where a lot of that commitment and connection comes from as well, because they've been put through the ringer. He's obviously super fit. We've spoken about how he gets ragged in games. Has anyone really seen that this season?
Good point.
And we've had him playing 80 minutes. He came off today after. I would have had no problem with him staying on. Now, I want him to get that 20-minute break. I want him to get that break that he got today. But I don't think it would have been an issue if he stayed out there. And notice our defence fell apart when he came off. What he is showing right now is as good as any football I've seen him play.
And he deserves every bit of success too. He's been through our lean years, in my opinion, been our best player since he's come to our club every year.
And I know you don't want our players picked in Origin. What Appy Coruscant has given to our club over the past couple of years, the knock that it kind of coming to the wooden spooners and being that guy that carried all that weight of this club for so long, He deserves every accolade and every opportunity he can get. So Laurie Daly should be on the phone to him, apologising for last year.
You know what he'll do? With this new 6-man bench,
He'll have
Appy and Jerome as 18 and 19. They won't get to play for the Tigers, and they won't get to play Origin. That's what will happen.
Eddie, don't.
He's done
Well,
it
wait
again.
and see. Wait and see.
You were doing so well, Eddie.
Wait and see what happens. Steve, defensive mindset. We've spoken about it. I guess in a way, it's disappointing they ended up scoring 22 points because that was a game where we totally dominated and probably could have kept them to 10, but we're still about 18 points a game, which should be in that top 4 in the competition defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got we've had the bye, so that skews that a little bit. But defensively, we're just so much better than we have been. It's a pity we had that brain snap by Skelton at the end of the game, which gave away 6 points. And Benji, I don't know if you guys have listened to
today as well.
Whether you've listened to his press conference, but Benji said he the last 20 minutes was unacceptable, were his words, which is good. So. Whilst we've already waxed lyrical about how hard they're hitting and how fast the line speed is and just the commitment they've got to defence, not just commitment and skill that they're putting in the defence. But as Benji said, last 20 minutes, we lost the second half, stuff to work on. Left it like the good teams, and when I say the good teams, I'm not talking about Melbourne Storm, right? I'm talking about the way Manly have played the last 2 weeks, right? I'm talking about the way the Roosters are starting to play, right? These teams, when we come up against them, they are going to test our edges. Our edge defense still needs to improve. It's not a criticism because we're doing great, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I don't know I have to rewatch the game, but this last 20 minutes talk is bothering me. Did we not concede the second last try with like 6 or 7 minutes left? I think we scored with 8 minutes left or something. I'm not sure why.
The last 2 tries were in the last 8 minutes. There was the Skelton one was actually their second try with about 15 to go, where he knocked on in goal.
See, that's another brain fart, but I'm sure in some way Benji's probably encouraging that sort of thing because if Macassini gets a better pass,
Coach mentioned that
he gets out. He did mention that. Okay, I didn't hear that.
I'm going to put a slightly positive spin on it. It's kind of a positive spin. You said how disappointing it was. There's a part of me that's actually really glad we performed poorly in that last 15, 20 minutes. And the reason is there's a lot of talk around complacency and what this does, that final 10, 8, whatever you want to call it, minutes, is it gives Benji the mandate to go in tomorrow and say what he said in the press conference, the end of that game was unacceptable. And it gives him an opportunity to drive standards. It gives him an opportunity to push the team hard this week. Gives him an opportunity to, we're doing well, but that we can't do. And it's just that another chance to drive those standards in our club.
It's a genius move. It's an absolute, because in that press conference, looking down the camera and saying that's unacceptable, he's put to bed the victory and he's going to walk back into those sheds and they're going to start talking about Brisbane.
And hopefully complacency goes out the window along with that conversation.
Because they do need to address a few things. You know, like I think it was, I've only seen the game live. I'm sure it was Skelton who just ran in a mile infield and then missed his target again.
Which he has a habit of doing.
Yeah, well, and not just him. They've done that over the last couple of weeks. They've done that a number of times.
Jock Madden really got stuck into him once or twice when he did that.
Skelton. Right, okay,
he was
that's
really,
good. That's
really
good.
into him. But
if you're going to do that, you got to make the tackle, right?
Benji's getting all the love, and 100% that's great. But with the whole coaching staff, like last year, we were critical at times, thinking, do we have to upgrade our assistants? Is he picking all his 05 buddies? But John Morris, Brett Hodgson, Chris Hyington, I think John Morris is the defensive coach, doing an outstanding job.
The only one that had experience was John Morris. He was a head coach at Cronulla, taking them to finals, and they didn't deem that good enough, which would have been great for us. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was guilty of thinking he's picking all his mates. Well, everyone within the club basically hasn't had that sort of job at another club. So you start questioning when you're coming 13th and last and last and last. You start thinking, well, what are we doing? But whatever it is, they've got together and they've worked out the right formula. And you just have to give credit to everyone within the club for what they're doing. And there's no one taking individual glory as to what's going on. And, you know, we're talking about Jock Madden. Does he stay? Does he go? I'm sure, you know, if Jerome Luai thinks, you know what, I should wait another week as much as I want to play, and that's the best thing for the team, he'd probably do that. There is no one is being selfish within our club. And that's what I love about this club. There's no I, me. It's just us. And we keep talking about the connectivity within the group, but it's just a pleasure to watch. And as a fan, the thing I take out of this the most is I don't care who we play. I know we're a chance. We're not going to win every game, but I know that any team we come up against, if we're on, you're in trouble. So that's what supporting a team should be. You shouldn't be going into games against the Broncos and the Storms of the world and the Panthers and thinking we've got no hope. We know we can beat anyone. You mentioned the Roosters and Manly. They have got great attack when they're on. We shit on them. They are absolute garbage. Like what I saw Cronulla get up 18-0 yesterday, the Roosters were pathetic. It was a mistake-a-thon. We're better than them. They've just got more talent and guys that can do some extraordinary things, and they could hurt us with their attack. But as to who's travelling better, Penrith are the only team travelling better than us. And I know it's obvious because of our position on the ladder, but you just have to watch nearly every game of every week to see we're as consistent as Penrith.
Don't disagree with you. I agree with that 100%, right? And I'm not trying to bring us down. I'm just saying they're teams that play fast, good shape out the back, right? That is the two teams that I thought of. The way our left edge has been troubled, they will give us trouble, right, is what I'm saying.
But remember, it's not our primary left edge.
True.
Like we don't have our starting left centre. We don't have our starting left winger. Like it's all makeshift, and we're doing this with our second and third stringers at times. Like our forward pack hasn't been decimated. That's pretty much been as is. But that back line, that's musical chairs almost every week.
If you put Jerome Luai, Taylor May back on that left edge.
Oh, yeah, it changes it 100%. Yeah.
Like that's a great defensive edge. And you have Macassini, who still has a lot to learn, but he's got a guy like Taylor May playing inside him, a guy like Jerome Luai, who is outstanding at communication in defence. Then I don't have too many issues about that once we get everyone back on board.
Let's talk about where are we up to, boys? We're nearly done. Let's talk about good, bad, ugly. Rob, you got one? I stole your good before, Patrick Herbert.
Well, Rob Jr. actually stole my good from our group chat. It's truly next man up. Okay, it's not talk the talk. It's Patrick Herbert because he's that sort of guy. It's Jock Madden. He's been that guy. He didn't play today. Tino Tavana. Prior to that, it's been Luke Lauliti. Everyone that is stepping in is doing their job. So my good is next man up, and it's an absolute honour that we've got these players, representing our jersey and our club so brilliantly.
Yeah, my good is that we are making a statement with our defence. That to me is the number one thing at the moment. We are hurting teams, we are damaging teams, and that's great.
I've had it as my bad for enough times, our slow starts. So I'm going to put our good down to today is that first try scorer, the start we had to that game, coming out prepared and ready today. So that's my good for today.
Any negatives from today, bad or an ugly?
Again, it's hypercritical, but it happened multiple times in the first half. It was not adjusting to kicks with the wind. So it wasn't just the no try where Buller was standing too deep, where, we had the wind behind us and he let the ball bounce and that led to the no try. It was also from the kickoffs. There was one kickoff, I think, it might have been Taruva, had to land face first almost to catch the ball on the full. So it's only a little technical thing, but, when the wind is into a team like it was Newcastle today, you've just got to stand a little bit closer, boys, and catch those balls on the full. Gary Jack said to you today, well, I'm not going to steal too much of it. He was told three things. What was it? Tackle around the legs, catch every ball on the full,
run hard.
And catching the ball on the full is the number one prerequisite. So when you're running into a strong wind like Newcastle were, Buller's got to stand 10 or 15 metres further forward.
Got a bad and an ugly, Steve?
My bad, I'll wrap them up together, would just be the drop in intensity in that last 15 minutes. Errors were a consequence for me, drop in intensity there.
Yeah, my bad's that last 10, 15 minutes. My ugly, Jarrell Skelton, do not pass in the goal. When we're in a position where we're in front like we are, mate, you take the tackle, you drop out and you get back into the grind of the game. There's no reason to throw that pass today, and he has too much of that in his game. That's probably an error that I would drop him over. It's just not good enough.
3, 2, 1 time. Who was your man of the match? Well, give us your one first and then go.
Well, I'm going to say Terrell May, Appy Coruscant, Alex Twoll. Put them all in a hat, and you pick out who you want for 3, 2, 1. They are all as equally as good as each other. What I'm loving about Twolly this year is Terrell May and Appy carried that pack last year, and now we've got other members of the pack, including Samuel Afenu, including Kai Pearce-Paul, that are carrying the pack. If I have to pick my 1 point, I will give it to Twally.
Mate, that's almost as good as Adel giving like 57 players 1 point. You've just put them all into a bucket.
Mate, there's guys that aren't going to get points. Patrick Herbert, what a performance by him. Kai Pearce-Paul thought he was a combination of Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with some of the stuff that was going on with the ball in his hand. Yeah, it was just incredible. Like, there's so many guys that played well. And look, we're, as good as we're travelling guys, we're not a team that can afford 2 or 3 weak links. Like, when we're winning, everyone is playing well. Yeah, we can isolate the Skelton mistake. We can isolate a dream ball dropping the ball. It's moments, but everyone is playing well as a collective, and that's how we need to be able to be competitive in this competition.
And we're not relying on the same couple of players to be the outstanding player each game. You know, like we've been talking Kai Pearce-Paul last couple of weeks. Well, he was great today, but he was probably not one of. Well, he's not in the points, is he?
Well, not for me anyway. But if someone did pick him, I've got no problem.
And that's not a negative on him. That's a positive on the rest of the team.
Of course.
Week ahead, there's a couple of injury concerns. What do you do if Samuel Afonu's out, left edge?
Samuel Afenu and Kai Pearce-Paul, I know I just mentioned next man up, so it's going to be hypocritical. They're not replaceable. Like, you'll get someone that will hopefully do 70 or 80% of their job. They can't bring the X factor that they both bring in attack. They are actually 2 huge human beings. So what you do for Samuel there, I have no idea. I would assume Tony Suka, would be the guy that gets a start.
He didn't get put on today in that position though.
Tony Suka.
Apparently, he was pulled out of the State Cup game.
Yeah, that was pulled out of reserve grade.
He was pulled out of reserve grade, so he's probably in for next week.
When Sam went down today, we put Seyfarth out there.
Well, you mentioned, in the green room that Seyfarth played for 10 minutes or something, or made 10 tackles and missed 3. So that's not a good look to defend on the edge either. So I'd be going Suka, but
so would I.
It's a tough one. And again, the best part is Benji will come up with the right answer, because every time we've questioned him, we've looked wrong.
I know it's reserve grade, but he was very strong last week, Suka.
Incredibly strong.
Very good.
But I think Benji will go Seyfarth. That stat today might change it, but if history repeats itself, Seyfarth will get it.
I mentioned on Coach's Report, Gary, Broncos, Raiders, Sharks, Storm. In previous years, you would have gone, well, that's 4 losses, but this year we shouldn't fear any of them at the moment.
Shouldn't fear any of them, and I would expect to win the next 2 at least. So, there's no reason, and I'm not a coach, so I don't have to be like Adel and say, well, the next game's the one I'm focusing on. There is a window of opportunity opening up there where we can really set up this season over the next 3 weeks. At least if we win 2 of the next 3, we're in a wonderful position heading into the rest of the season.
Great time to be a West Tigers fan, Rob.
It's wonderful, but like I said, we can beat anyone that we play. I'm not going to go as far as say, like Brisbane and Canberra and Cronulla, like 2 of those teams anyway. Some of them are bigger and maybe have a little bit more speed than us. They're not givens, but
they're not givens.
But we're capable of winning.
If you're looking at on form at the moment, then we're right in those games. And I would say, especially Brisbane, Canberra, a
lot's going to come down to personnel and who's available and how they recover. And Samuel is a big out. Samuel is irreplaceable. And I'll add another thing. We've mentioned it a number of times all year, but I'll say it again. If Appy's out, I don't want to say. But I'm just trying to say there's some guys that are, look, if Appy, if respectfully to Tristan Hope, if he was an adequate replacement, Appy's getting replaced with 23, 24 minutes left, and I'm saying don't take him off. I want to be 5 scores ahead before I'm taking Appy off. He's just irreplaceable.
But you know what? We just said a couple of minutes ago that this next man up mentality and not the same players are being highlighted every week. Okay, so if we lose Samuel next week, but we get Taylor May back, all of a sudden we just change the point of the attack a little bit. Like Taylor May, he may come back a little slow. He may need a couple of games, but he's as dangerous in a different way.
That's a very good point. Then you've got to start attacking differently and start using your players differently.
Well, West Tigers fans, try and get out to Campbelltown next Saturday night because our team is on fire at the moment. Big thank you to Daniel in the studio. He's let us done a little bit of overtime tonight after another crushing win for the boys. Tune in on Tuesday, Gary, because we'll be out at West Campbelltown.
We'll be out there and looking forward to it. Can't wait.
And before you sign off, Hear Her Roar debuting this coming Thursday, 5 o'clock. Do not forget their debut, Kelly and Rachel.
Excellent. Go the girls. Go the West Tigers.
Go the Tigers.